Hey, Salvador Briggman here with the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel, and today I want to talk about some of the tips that I have for you if you're going to be putting together your GoFundMe campaigns and you're wondering, how do I actually write this in a compelling manner? How do I incentivize people or get people interested in my GoFundMe campaign? That is what we are covering today. Alright, so there are a few kind of different stages when it comes to writing your GoFundMe campaign. And I want you to kind of think of this as marketing copy. You know, this is a different type of writing that you maybe did in school with like academic writing. It's not the same stilted, stuffy kind of wording that you might have if you're doing an academic essay or you're writing a business email to one of your colleagues. Remember, this is going to be sent, this GoFundMe campaign is going to be sent to your friends, to your family, to people that are in your local network, people that are shared. They maybe see your friends share this campaign on their timeline. So it's going to be mainly people that are of your peers, and also anyone who discovers it on GoFundMe or in the GoFundMe newsletter, maybe from tweeting it, they come across a social media post. You want to have a very relatable tone. And the way that I like to think about this is having a conversational tone. The best way that you can sort of judge if you have a conversational tone is very simply to read your campaign out loud. So after you've written your campaign page, take 5 minutes and just read the campaign out loud word from word. And does this sound the way that you would talk to a friend? Does this sound the same way you would talk to someone if they're in your living room or across the table from you at a kitchen table? Is this how you would talk to them? Or are you using language and sort of weird vocabulary and grammar that doesn't make a lot of sense? It makes you sound robotic. Now, a lot of times when we do writing, we almost sound like we're so uptight and robotic that it's difficult to relate with the writer. So you don't want to come off as that way. Instead, it wants to be a very conversational and warm tone, as though you're talking one-on-one with your friend. When you're reading it, you're also going to spot a lot of grammar issues maybe that you didn't notice when you were just typing it up in a Word document. When you're reading it, you're also going to notice some things like spelling errors. So it's kind of like a two-in-one, where not only are you seeing if you have a conversational tone, but you're also seeing all of the various mistakes that maybe your eye didn't catch the first time around. The second element of writing is not just communicating information, but actually wrapping up that information in something that's emotionally evocative. And you kind of think of it this way. When is the last time that you've read a really long document? It's something that's really boring. Most of us don't really read long documents. We kind of shy away from nonfiction. But when you pick up a fiction book, you consume this thing page after page. It's a page turner. It's really easy to get through it. I remember reading the Harry Potter books, and I wasn't really actually that into reading when I was a lot younger, and it consumed my entire world. Me and my friends, we would spend so much time just up late at night reading Harry Potter books. And the reason is that stories are inherently fascinating. When you're telling a story, it allows someone else to put themselves in your shoes, to feel the same emotions that you felt in that particular situation. It's kind of like the most vivid way of communicating with someone else is by telling a story. And if you've watched any of my other YouTube videos, you'll know that in order to get people to donate money and to actually give money online, you have to make them empathize with you. So my next story writing tip when it comes to putting together your crowdfunding campaign page is not just think about communicating strict information, but how can you relay this in a more interesting way? Just having one simple story of the events that led up to this moment where now you're looking for donations, now you're looking for people to actually get behind you with this crowdfunding campaign. By just injecting one story, you're gonna make the writing a lot more flavorful. And also, if you can do things like analogies or metaphors or similes, those are also some really great ways to spice up what it is that you're trying to say. And remember, this isn't just for the audience of people that know you. This is also for strangers who have never met you before. You want to get them thinking and visualizing and really invested in the story which you're communicating with your crowdfunding campaign. I gotta tell you, when I first started writing, getting interested in writing in high school and in my younger years, I used to write massive paragraphs. Like if I was putting together a paper, I would just be all one paragraph. And my teacher would always say that that's really difficult to read, and they were absolutely correct. There's a certain way of writing in that it's much more digestible. When you get an email or you come across an article online or you see a page on a paper and you see a really big block of text, you think, oh man, it just creates mental anxiety. Like that's a lot to read, that's a lot to digest. And unless you're really invested in that thing, you're probably gonna go and check out something else. You might start surfing the web, you might come across a funny cat video online, and your attention just kind of goes away from that. So you wanna make your crowdfunding campaign text as easy to read as possible. And the way we do that is we make sure we have headers. So you're gonna have headers to separate your actual storytelling on the crowdfunding campaign page. And also you're gonna do things like you're not gonna have a massive paragraph there on the page that people have to get through, and it's really difficult, it's not very digestible. Try to break it up into much smaller paragraphs that are a little bit more punchy. If possible, use bolding so that people know what they should be paying attention to and when they shouldn't. You can use italics and underlines. Those are all easy ways. Even breaking up the actual campaign page with images is a killer way as well to make it a much more rich ask than if you just had huge blocks of text on your crowdfunding campaign page. Now, another element when it comes to the writing is the headline, of course, and also the thumbnail that you're using. So these should be really important because this is going to kind of prime someone for what they should anticipate when they're coming to the page. What is your need? What is your ask? What is the context of what you're trying to do online? And you don't have to get necessarily all that creative about it. I think a lot of times we try to like outsmart marketing or come up with really witty, creative advertising slogans, but all too often it just serves to confuse people. If you haven't been doing this as a profession, you haven't been coming up with slogans or doing copywriting, a lot of the times like the witty ideas you come up with actually don't really stick very much when it comes to the average person. So for the average individual out there, I would say try to keep it simple. Try to make sure that you're communicating clearly with your headline and with your ask, and that's going to make it so that people very instantly when they come on the page, you're going to know what it is that you're raising money for. They're going to know the cause behind this entire crowdfunding campaign. Another tip that I have for you when it comes to the GoFundMe page is kind of like an extension of writing, right? So you have the actual communication, the information which you are including in your GoFundMe campaign page, and you should include as much information as possible to legitimize the claim that you're making. If you need this money, for example, for a hospital and you're raising money, try to legitimize that claim by explaining to people why it is you need this money. It seems very basic, but you'd be surprised by the number of people who don't do that. Then you sort of have the more emotional side of things. We talked a little bit about storytelling as one way to inject emotion, but there are other ways that you can use the actual campaign page in order to do that. So including imagery in terms of the actual photographs maybe, to showcase the need, to show it and to prove to people in front of their own eyes that this is something that is sorely needed. Doing other things like including a video snippet. That's a really easy way just to show people that you are legit. Remember, there's so many crowdfunding campaigns out there that turn out to be scams, and you don't want people to think that yours is a scam. You don't want people to think that you are just doing this for a very self-serving reason. The more effort you put into this page, the more people are going to buy into what you say. They're going to listen to you way more. They're going to realize that this isn't something you just threw up, 15 minutes after work one day, and you didn't even spell check, you didn't bother to include any kind of credibility indicators, and you just were hoping for money. That's obviously not going to stand out when everyone else out there is doing the exact same thing. So you have to put a little bit of time and effort into this, even if it's just spending 2 days putting together a really quality campaign page. You're going to have way better results than if you just kind of threw this thing up and was hoping for a donation. The final technique that I want to share with you now is a bit more of an advanced marketing technique, and I use this a lot when it comes to physical products, companies that I'm working with on other types of crowdfunding campaigns, and it can also be used in terms of charity and nonprofits. Nonprofits will use this a lot. Some of my videos out there really talk about this and hammer on this when it comes to nonprofit fundraising. But the idea that you want to have with your writing is to give a before and an after image. So the before image, let's just say you have a hospital that is lacking in supplies, that is having to reuse very important medical supplies when they shouldn't have to, and they're just trying to help patients, just trying to do these things, but they don't have the materials they need in order to save lives. What would be the after picture that you're looking for? Well, the after picture would be a happy environment where people actually have the equipment and the tools they need to do their job. A happy environment where people are leaving the hospital better, more healthy, and can return to their family lives. A better, picture or image would be that doctor being able to do what they've studied for years and actually help those individuals in that hospital. What you want to do with your writing as a more advanced technique is to craft this before and this after image with your campaign. So you say, this is what's happening now. This is the before. And with your support, start, rather than having this before continue, we can have this vision of the future. We can sort of have this after image, if you will. And all it takes is for you to participate in this campaign. Your individual pledge can make that difference, and we can stop having, living life in this way that you described before, and instead you can have this idyllic vision that you are describing in your campaign as sort of the after, and the campaign is more of like the fulcrum, if you will, taking someone from point A to point B and allowing that to happen, and you being a participant in that process. So that'd be my final writing tip for you. If possible, if you're a little bit more advanced with your writing, to try and craft that before and after image, and it gets people excited because they're like, I can actually make a difference. I can actually make a change with my own money and change the future to a small degree and make an impact. Thank you so much for listening to this video. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below if you have any more questions. A thumbs up would be great because then other people know that this video is worth their time. But in addition, I have a free GoFundMe course which will walk you through a few different vital lessons when it comes to raising money from the crowd. Not just your friends and family, but also strangers that are out there. So if that sounds interesting to you, go and join the free GoFundMe course down below. I'll link it up in the description of this video. And also come subscribe if you want more content like this. My name is Salvador, and I'll see you next time.